Mom Who Knows Nada. My name is Brianna, and this is the Mama Knows Nada podcast. Welcome back. We have a very special guest for a cause that is very near and dear to my heart. This is Stacy Ellison, VP of Development and Communications from the Delores Barr Weaver Policy Center. She's here to tell us what the Policy Center is all about, why it's important, and how it is helping women and young women and girls in our community. So Stacy, I cannot thank you enough for being here to discuss the wonderful work that you do and how essential your organization is to our greater community.
Oh, thank you so much for having us. It's always so exciting to kind of spread the word and share with our community the work and then invite them to be involved as well. So, hey, and thank you so much.
Absolutely. It is my pleasure. So let's get into the biggest thing so that people understand what the Policy Center is all about. What is your mission?
Yeah, so the Policy Center advances the rights of girls, elevates justice system reform and gender accountability and system accountability, I should say. And we do that through research-based community solutions. So that is our mission. And really breaking that down further, we work to prevent girls' initial or deeper justice system involvement by tackling the systems, the policies and practices that push them deeper into the justice system and really perpetuate cycles of trauma and poverty. And we really work to stop those on a number of different ways if we tackle that problem.
I think that is really important to highlight, but also like, how do girls get trapped in these cycles? I think that's a really good point to highlight because people, they might assume that, oh, they make bad choices or they're, this, that, the other thing. So how do these young women and girls get stuck in these cycles?
Yeah, so we really work to tackle the policy and practice that perpetuates these cycles. And so the girls we serve, I should tell you, are girls that have often been failed by multiple systems in their lives. We're talking about girls in foster care. We're talking about girls from underserved communities, girls of color, survivors of human trafficking. And in their lifetimes, there have been so many touch points at school, through social service agencies, through law enforcement interactions, perhaps with counselors or social workers who've had opportunities to say, okay, stop. What is going on? What is causing these behaviors? Are you safe? What resources do you need? And so we are really working to have systems operate in that way, as opposed to just punitively punishing the behavior they see right in front of them. We work to help communities understand that people and the girls we serve are so much more than a singular behavior. And let's look behind that behavior and address those problems to prevent that initial or deeper system involvement.
That is such a great explanation because I think sometimes we forget that the behavior is usually a symptom of a problem, not necessarily who people are as an individual. And I bring everything back to like toddlerdom, because and the mom is not like, and when a child is breaking down or having a meltdown, they're trying to tell you something. And if someone's lashing out with a certain behavior or an atypical behavior, they're probably trying to tell you something. And I want to get into a little bit later what to look for. So I'm going to come back to that, but I want to highlight how you help support these individuals and like what services are offered through the organization to help support these girls.
Sure. Well, understanding that the concept of justice system involvement is really multifaceted, and there are a number of contributors to that. We have a very unique model, and we tackle the problem from multiple angles, all of it housed under one roof. Everything we do is based in research. Our research department is constantly looking at what are the most prevalent challenges that girls and young women are facing in our community. Where are the system failures? What's going on in schools, in court, in lockup that are exacerbating the issues girls are facing? From there, we have our advocacy platforms. Our research is informing advocacy. That's where we're going to Tallahassee, where we're going into schools, where we're absolutely working to make sure that we are enacting tangible reforms. In the 10 years of the Delores Barr Weaver Policy Center's work, we've been able to pass 5 laws in the state that have made things safer and more equitable for girls and women in our community. The third prong is training and best practices. We want to share what we've learned with other girl serving professionals so that they can incorporate this into their work. If you're in law enforcement, if you're in the state attorney's office, if you're a pediatrician, if you're a teacher, if you're a school administrator, what can you do to make sure that you are serving girls with a gender responsive, trauma informed lens that is making sure they're being treated equitably? And then finally, the fourth prong is programming. We are in the trenches. They're advocating for and with girls in schools, in community centers, in lockup, at court, making sure that we are doing everything we can from preventative measures to make sure that girls are fully supported and that the issues they're facing in their lives are being addressed in a way that improves their safety, their equitable treatment, and their well-being. Our CEO, Dr. Vicky Basra, always says, we are not against accountability. What we are is working to change what accountability looks like. And we want to engage our entire community in that, changing what accountability looks like for girls and young women in our community.
That's a really interesting point you make, because at the end of the day, let's just get into the signs. What could people, like, what can someone like me who's a mom, a writer, what can I do? Like, what could I look for? Or what should a teacher look for? Or an officer? What can all these different professions or neighbors look for to help mitigate these women who are at risk?
Yeah. And so it looks different for everybody, right? I mean, I always ask people to reflect back on when you were a young girl. Did you always know how to accurately articulate what you were thinking or feeling, or what the problems or troubles were in your life? And so it looks different for everyone, but everyone has an opportunity to make a difference. And so here at the Policy Center, we accept referrals from any source: parents, community members, teachers, faith-based community, law enforcement, judges. All of these people will refer girls to us. And so, whether it's an unexplained drop in grades, whether it is acting out in school, whether it is running away or having those initial justice system involvement interactions, it looks different for everyone. But if you have a young woman or a girl in your life who you think could be having some troubles or challenges, when you click that referral button right on the front page of our website, seethegirl.org, there's questions and contact information. And our team immediately begins to work with the referrer or the girl or her family, however that needs to look in every situation, to figure out what's going on, what are the needs, what are the resources needed, and how can we support. And so, it can look like anything. I mean, and I know that sounds so incredibly vague, but it's true in terms of how a young person manifests the trauma or the challenges they're facing in life. The key component, though, is that girls have trusted adults in their life. That whether it is a parent, whether it is a teacher, whether it is a community member, where they can share the very specific and unique things that they're experiencing, and then those adults can help them get the help that they need.
Yeah, because I was actually going to ask, what if you don't have a trusted caregiver in your life? Oh my goodness, like, how can intervention happen if someone's not looking out for you? Or the other side of that is, or in continuation, if people aren't trained adequately to know that this person might be running away because of something that's happening in their household, and an officer is just sending them home to, like, if you're not trained, you're not going to identify that, oh, this kid probably needs to get out of there, and instead of throwing them back into it.
Yeah, and that's why the training is so very important, because what we see time and time again is that girls and young women really express that lack of a trusted adult in their life. And that's where proper and appropriate system intervention is so very important, because if in fact it's that officer or that teacher or that school administrator that
Yeah.
can provide that trusted safety point for them, that can truly change the trajectory of a life and the
Mm-hmm.
situations that may occur as a result. And so that trusted adult to be there to walk alongside and help a young person find the resources they
Yeah.
need, that is a critical component.
Whew, yes. Oh my goodness. That is,
Yeah.
you didn't
And
even, I didn't even think about that until you said it. I'm like, oh my gosh, what about these people who don't have anybody they can lean on or look after them or
yeah, and our
give them
programming
a
is,
voice?
yeah, the voices of the girls truly guide our work, and it is hearing from them, share their experiences, share their journeys, share their struggles, that we find it so critically important to be those trusted adults, particularly in our
Mm-hmm.
programming where we are in elementary schools, embedded in several under-resourced, underserved communities, where our professionals are there to provide that trusted adult resource to girls who could perhaps be at risk of justice system involvement in middle schools, in community centers, and even in lockup to prevent that deeper system involvement. Our professionals are the trusted adults in many of the girls' lives we serve, and we are honored, truly. I'm honored to work alongside them, but they consistently express how honored they are to have the opportunity to connect with these girls and young women in such a valuable way.
That's awesome. Can you tell us a little bit about, you referenced the elementary program. So could you tell us just a little bit what that looks like and how these
Sure.
professionals are utilized?
Sure. Well, we have a number of programming opportunities that directly serve direct service girls and young
Mm-hmm.
women. See the Girl in elementary and See the Girl in the middle are both school-based programs where we have professionals that are embedded in schools. We have a classroom. It's decorated in a non-classroomy way. It's a much more therapeutic, healing environment. And our professionals serve girls who are referred by teachers or administrators or parents in that learning community.
Mm-hmm.
And they have the opportunity to come to the classroom and interact with our care managers as well as interns who serve as mentors, who help these girls navigate the problems that are in their life, to increase school connectedness, to reduce out of bounds behaviors, and even to support the family as a whole if in fact we find that there are pressing needs and challenges that go
Mm.
beyond this girl to the family, which is so often the truth. Um, yeah.
Yeah,
And so
imagine.
we also, while we're in those communities, are not only helping the girls, but also the teachers and administrators
Mm.
to really examine the way in which they're relating to the
Mm-hmm.
girls in their school communities. And are we helping or harming with our responses? And so the
Mm.
goal is to truly reform the learning environment so that it is a trauma informed, gender responsive environment where girls can learn and thrive, and there is less suspension and
Mm.
expulsion that's happening, but instead an increased support of the girl to keep her in the school environment to make sure that she is on a healthy and whole path. We also have opportunities to see the girl in the community, and that includes girls that are in lockup or in detention centers, where we also have trained counselors who are going into the facilities, helping girls through the issues at hand, not only their personal experiences, but their system
Mm-hmm.
experiences. So we're showing up with them in court. We're going to visit them in lockup, making sure that we're doing everything we can to advocate with them and for them to continue a positive path for them as opposed to continuing this deeper system involvement. And then finally, as programming, our Open Doors Outreach Network works specifically with survivors of trafficking,
Mm.
walking alongside these girls and young women on their healing journey, but then also advocating in the system so that we are not criminalizing trafficked people, understanding that they are the victims in this situation, not the criminals. And when you
Mm-hmm.
change your focus, that changes the way in which you interact with them.
Mm. Yes, absolutely. I think, whoo,
It's
it's
a
really,
lot. It is
well,
a lot.
it is a lot, but you take a step back and you think just focusing on victims of trafficking, okay, well, they probably got abducted or stolen or even maybe coerced into a situation that they didn't realize they were being manipulated in. And it's easy to be like, oh, well, you chose that, but like, but did you? Like, not really. Like, let's look at what was happening for this individual to be in that type of
Yeah.
predicament, you know? Like,
Hmm.
I think it's really easy to label women in general, I feel like. So I think when you don't understand all of the nuances of a
Hmm.
situation, I think things get taken out of context. And as you're saying, these women are failed because it looks like they're, choosing something when
Yeah.
someone could be threatening their life, their family. Like, you don't know what's happening behind it. I
Well,
go down rabbit holes when I hear these
yeah,
things, and
well,
I'm like, oh
uh,
gosh.
well, no, it's so true. And that's one of the reasons we're so grateful for opportunities to come on podcasts like this so we can help educate the community, because there are so many misconceptions. There are so
Mm-hmm.
many established societal norms that absolutely are rooted in a victim blaming type of culture, right?
Yeah.
And so when we look at issues around trafficking, you often find it is the trafficked individuals who are criminalized, and not the traffickers, and not the
Mm.
buyers,
Mm. Let's talk about
right?
that one. Yeah. Whew.
It is the actual girls and women who are the victims in the situation. And so, that work really supports those survivors in a very unique way. That particular program has counselors as well as survivor mentors, women with similar lived experiences,
Mm.
who work with us as experts, because all of the books and all of the studying in the world is not the same as you actually
Mm-mm.
walked that road.
Phew.
And so our survivor mentors are valuable components in that program to walk alongside these women. And then we have another professional, regional advocates, who work to help them secure the necessary components to life to move forward in a healthy, whole way. So that can include housing, that can include legal support, that can include educational advancement, all of the things that anyone needs to grow and thrive, but are
Mm-hmm.
critically important, but more difficult to come by if in fact you are a survivor of trafficking and have that justice system involvement that often results.
Yeah, I mean, you think about if you commit a crime on like a resume, you can't, and you have to like, have you ever been charged of a felony? You can't get like hired at McDonald's even to like
Right.
make a change for yourself. So I think
Right.
what what this policy center is doing, in my opinion, so brilliantly is showing not only offering that support network, but also showing women and young girls that there's another way. It doesn't have to be this way. We can work together to build a brighter future, not just for the individual, but for the community as a whole. Because at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, don't we want our neighbors to be contributing members of society and thriving and flourishing? I mean,
Yeah.
that's what I want.
Well,
So,
and everyone, and I think that's what everyone wants. But sometimes these issues are so deep and so layered and so heavy, it
mm,
makes people unsure as to, what am I supposed to do about this?
yeah.
What am I supposed to do? And a lot of it has to do with educating yourself. A lot of it has to do with understanding the policies and practices that
Hmm.
are in place in the systems you encounter. Your listeners are moms. What are the policies and practices that are at your school,
Mm.
wherever it may be, that perhaps unfairly target girls? Dress codes, anyone?
That's made a few headlines.
Listen, what are the things that are in your particular school environment that unfairly target girls and young women? How do those things work to perpetuate
Mm.
um, victim blaming ideas or
Hmm.
unfair policies and practices? What are the things in your local jurisdiction? We work in a 5-county area, the First Coast. So we are so proud to have a wonderful partnership with Sheriff Hardrick and the St. Johns County police officers, the sheriff's office there. And, we always want to talk about,
Hmm.
what's happening at the law enforcement level, what is happening in the courtrooms, what is happening at the school level, what is happening in communities, what are those things that are challenging girls and women, quite frankly, to get a fair shake.
Mm.
And so when we look at things like that, From a community level, everyone can be involved. Everyone can find out what are the laws in my community, what are the policies in my community. And what you often find is once you start to peel that back and scratch a little bit, there'll be a couple of things that you're like, hey, that's not right. That's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's not equitable. And when we all come together in support um, of fairer practices that promote truly the health and well-being of our entire community, we're all better because of it.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. I love that. So let's talk a little bit about this tournament we have coming up. Tennis is another one of my passions. So I like when I
Yes.
confuse it all together. So there's the wonderful tennis tournament coming up. What does it mean for the Policy Center to have the community involvement in this kind of capacity?
It means everything because in our mission, we talk about wanting community-based solutions. And that means we can't do it alone. We've got to do it together. And
Mm,
so when we have communities who want to learn more about what we do and the girls we serve, not only does it help our mission and efforts at the Policy Center, but quite frankly, it shows the girls we serve that their communities do care about them. As I
mm-hmm,
mentioned before, the girls of color, the girls from underserved communities, survivors of trafficking, often
mm-hmm,
the girls we serve have been failed by so many systems and so many adults in their lives that often they
mm-hmm,
begin to think that they are not worthy. And so when we have community members come together in such a wonderful way to
mm-hmm,
support our work, it means everything. The funds raised through the tennis tournament will come directly to the Policy Center where we can continue this work to uplift girls and young women and make sure that they are safe, valued,
mm.
respected, and treated equitably in our community. And plus, Valencia is such a tennis loving community. This is such a great way to get out there and engage not only those who are playing tennis, but those who just come to watch and
Mm-hmm.
support.
It
This
is
is
so
the
fun.
second year, and we're just super excited about it. And I want to just give a big shout out and thanks to Jennifer Lee, who lives in Palencia and who is a member of our leadership council, and to Lindy Lawler, who has
Aw.
really come along and become such a wonderful advocate and supporter of the work as well. They are working hard and so excited. And so we're just so pleased to have them as partners in these efforts.
So we are pleased. I'm going to speak on behalf of them. We are pleased to be partners in this endeavor, and happy to bring some notoriety to a great cause. Like, I won't go down that rabbit hole, but we are very passionate about this mission, and I'm very passionate about tennis. So everything comes together brilliantly.
Yeah, it does. It does. It was so much fun last year being there and meeting people in the community. And I'm really excited this year because we're getting so much great response, even from tennis lovers outside of Palencia who are coming over and, other communities who
Yeah.
have, groups. And I think the state attorney's office has a couple people coming. So it's really awesome.
That's fantastic. I didn't know that. That's amazing. So let's talk about how people can help if it's not through tennis. What can people do to support the causes and the programs of the Policy Center?
Absolutely. So at seethegirl.org, I should say this before I move forward. I want to explain because people always say, what is See the Girl? So our motto is See the Girl. And it came
Mm-hmm.
from it came from a young woman who was in lockup, a 14-year-old girl named Maria,
Oh.
who was in lockup. And our founder, Lawanda Rivera, Dr. Lawanda Rivera, had the opportunity to meet her. Dr. Rivera was on her way to Tallahassee to speak to some legislators. And she asked Maria, what would you like me to tell them when I get there?
Hmm.
As a young woman who I'm going to represent, what do you want me to say? And she said, I want people to see me for who I am, not for who they think I am.
Ooh.
See me for what I can be and who I can become. And so at 14 years old, she was already feeling burdened by the judgment and the shame of how things had worked out in her life. She had had tremendous hardship and abuse. And she really inspired the motto of the Policy Center to see the girl, see a girl for everything she can be, see her as a girl, not
Mm.
adultifying her,
Mm.
not putting more expectation on her than her young life or maturity level or emotional development can bear, right? So to see the girl. And so that's our website, seethegirl.org. girls.org. And so if you go to the website, not only can you learn more about what we do as a policy center, but you can also figure out all the ways that you can engage. There's an upcoming opportunities part of our website where you can learn about the tennis tournament. You can learn about training opportunities we have where you can actually come, and our expert researchers and clinicians and professionals share the latest research, share the latest best practices. So you can take this information and apply it to the girls in your life and your community. There are opportunities to do things like a tennis tournament. If someone's listening and they're a golfer, let's do a golf tournament. If you have a small business, there are opportunities to engage us in that way with sponsorship opportunities. We have silent auctions throughout the year and are always looking for, things that can be included in our auction. We have an upcoming gala, and we are actively looking for silent auction items. And helping raise funds for this is always so very important for any nonprofit. It's the case, but fundraising is a very important part, and volunteer efforts and community and corporate sponsorships are so very important in those efforts. We also have opportunities for food drives or hygiene items, particularly as young girls and women come into contact with us and we begin to serve them. They're often lacking the very basic needs that so many of us take for granted. So we've had organizations do hygiene drives for us, go bags, so that when a young woman encounters us and she is in a crisis situation, we can at least give some basic needs to help with that. And so there's so many opportunities, but we're really open. Often people will call us and say, hey, I have an idea. This is what I do. How can we make this work? And I am always excited to have those opportunities to engage with people, because there truly is something for everyone in terms of supporting these efforts.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I love that you can provide them like with food or those like necessities,
Sure.
whether it's like shampoo, soap, feminine hygiene products that, like that you need as a girl, or if it's you're in a dire situation, there's like, here's like literally like a care package for you just to get you through this next moment, because that's pivotal. And it's also one of those like core memories, like someone is there to support me. It's also just like affirming their value. Just something so small as a necessity, like just validates them. And I think that's just absolutely brilliant. I'm just trying not to cry over here personally. So I'm just trying to keep it together.
Oh, I feel your big heart and I appreciate that. I often tell people that this is heart work. It is. And, we have professionals who are on our staff who are on call 24/7, 365, who are ready and available on our crisis lines, who actively meet girls they are serving where they are each and every day, just depending on what's happening. Because again, that trusted adult, a trusted person is so very important. So often we hear from girls we serve, no one has asked me. No one has taken the time to find out what is going on in my life, what's causing these situations. And if we can continue to show up for girls in a way where we truly see them and want to learn more about what's going on in their life and how can we help and how can we advocate for you, that's everything. And it is truly hard work.
Well, we appreciate you and all that you do. That's for sure.
Listen, my part is easy. I get the wonderful privilege of sharing the mission and values of the Policy Center and sharing the work of my phenomenal colleagues who are doing that work. And it is a joy. So it's always such an honor to get to share.
I love that. Is there anything else you can tell us about the Policy Center that we haven't covered?
Well, I would say that if you go to seethegirl.org, you can find out so much more about what we've been able to accomplish in 10 years. This is our 10th year of existence. Yay. And so, so it's our birthday year. And we're so excited that, we have been able to really make some tangible strides in these efforts. Not only, as I mentioned before, have we been able to pass 5 laws in the state that have contributed to the safety and equitable treatment and well-being of girls and women. But we've also released 27 original research reports highlighting the challenges and the present difficulties that girls and young women are facing in our community. We have trained more than 3,000 girl serving professionals that they can then take the information that the Policy Center has learned through research and through our programming, what the girls are telling us, the real information we're getting. They can take this information back to their municipalities, to their communities, and apply it. We are so excited to have a partnership with Georgetown University in our training modules. So our work is receiving national attention because it's working. We've been able to reduce incarceration rates in Duval County by 72%.
Holy shit.
And yeah, you said it. You said it, not
I said
me.
it. I
Yes,
said it. I
truth
said
there.
it.
And we have saved the state more than $9 million by diverting girls from incarceration. So when we're talking about these things, we can tell people that this is a model that is working. And we're so pleased to share it in our community. We want to deepen our work in Florida. We want to share with other communities across this nation what we're doing, because we have a valuable opportunity to change the way girls are treated and viewed in this country, not only in our city, not only in our state, but in this country as a whole. And what that takes is communities getting on board and saying, we want to do this differently.
Amen to that. Oh, I'm so glad you brought up those statistics, because I was going to ask, like, how have you seen this progress? And I think that is just something we should just marinate on for a second. Like 72% reduction in incarceration rates.
Girls, yes, girls incarceration.
Yeah, girls. Okay, girls incarceration. Let's be clear here.
Yeah,
that is fabulous, and just the resources that saves and the production that creates in those lives, like that is just so many different things where you think like, okay, sure, there's not as many people in as many women and girls in the prison system, but like also like, what is that means? They're out there doing something else, they're contributing, they're learning, they're growing, and potentially even thriving, which is a beautiful thing.
Right, which
so
that
exciting.
is the goal, right? Yeah, that's the goal. That is the goal. And, we're so excited about what we've been able to accomplish, but there's still much work to do. I know that you've seen, most recently, the CDC reports that were chronicling the status of girls today in terms of mental health and in terms of challenges they're facing. And so while we have had a lot of success, there is still significant work to do. And we are prepared to keep moving forward and to keep this good work going.
That's amazing. Stacy, I can't thank you enough for sharing so much about the Delores Barr Weaver Policy Center. seethegirl.org if you want to look them up online. Again, this is Stacy Ellison.